Uh, Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this kind of informal session on options for remote working that we see brought to you today by SCC. Thank you for not being outside in the sunshine. I know it's a lovely day, and I'm sure that most people would like to be in the garden doing certain things. But I'd like to make sure that you are keeping safe and all your families are keeping safe and well. And I promise not to say unprecedented during this session. Well, hopefully not, because it seems to be a cliched fact. So let me take you through the agenda for what I'm going to try and cover today. I'm going to take you through an introduction to myself, a bit about who SCC are, a bit about an insights report that we pulled together with some industry analysts about a month and a half ago. Just making sure people can hear me before I start. Neil is now typing. Bear with. Yes, perfect, fantastic. And your IT choices. So there's a lot of choices you have about remote working today. And obviously at the back end, a bit about how you can engage with SCC if you need any further assistance. So first off, let me introduce myself and my role within SCC. This lovely picture of me taken some years ago in Madrid. I do look that bad. More grey hair now though than in that picture. I'm a 20-year IT veteran of the channel, probably been in IT now for 30 odd years, but been with SCC for about 3.5. I work with inside their professional services division, and I head up strategy for workplace productivity. So I'm pretty much involved in day-to-day aspects of what's going on in the marketplace. And I also run some of the kind of vendor-led programs that are out there from people like Microsoft that allow you to get funding to help you deliver some key driving areas of remote possibilities and remote working. So who are we? Let me give you the heads up for those people that don't know. I'm only going to take a couple of minutes to start around this lovely infographic slide. We are a £2.2 billion company in turnover. We're part of the Rigby Group run by Sir Peter Rigby and have been in the Midlands and Birmingham especially now for about 40 years. And for those people that have driven through Sparkhill and Tyseley, we call it the Rigby Square Mile. And you'll also see now that we're reinvesting in the local area because we're now rebuilding our head office after about 30 years, which is James House. We provide a lot of information here on this slide, but the key one is that we're about 7,000 employees split across 3 and 4 different countries. In the UK, we're about 5,000 people, out of which about 50 to 60% of those people work out of the Midlands themselves. We've got 65 offices spread around both the UK, France, Spain, Romania, where most of our outsourced services are actually done, and also now Vietnam, where we do some of our 24/7 help desk services. Also on this slide, you can see a couple of our key named stakeholder companies. Eddie Stobart's. Everybody knows about Eddie Stobart's. Very busy at the moment, obviously distributing goods to shops, but also they've diversified a lot since they sold out and also into IT transport. MAG, Manchester Airport Group, run a lot of the airports that Sir Peter doesn't own. I only joke there. Manchester, Stansted, Luton, and Gatwick fall under the Manchester Airport Group, some of the 4 major key hubs that are being affected at this moment in time. And then Secure Trust Bank, the first startup bank that was actually put onto the Azure platform. So we've got some very kind of key names. We do play across all the different verticals, and we try and make sure that when we're delivering solutions, they're delivered around a business model that's based on our key core offerings. Those core offerings are data center modernization, workplace productivity, which is what I'm going to be talking a bit more about today, security, network and communications, business process outsourcing, and everything is really surrounded by innovation. And if I mean by innovation, contrary to the belief of the TV programs, we've now worked with some of the areas of the Midlands to deploy first 5G campus in the UK. 5G transmitters do not transmit COVID-19. Just thought I'd get that one out there, although I did see it on the news last night that they were being set alight for no apparent reason. We've put people and users at the heart of our technology, and we work very much on a consultative-led engagement. And as I said before, we work with private, public, and systems integrators in delivering some of these services. So workplace productivity is primarily based around 8 core areas. Microsoft. Everybody is using Microsoft. 90% of the UK, 90% of the globe are actually using Microsoft. We, through acquisition, are also very focused on comms and collaboration. And we have our SCC AVS and our SCC document management services and print services. All of this is linked together with Microsoft yet again to provide end-to-end services that we're seeing used very much prevalently across different verticals. We have our service desk capabilities onshore out of the Rigby Square Mile down in Tyseley, and also out of Iași, which is in Romania. We saw Iași as being the next big IT place to invest in. So Peter has the keys to the city, and we have probably the best part of 1,000 people working on service desks out of there. Very strong around what we're going to be talking about today is application modernization, and I'll come on to that a bit later, but primarily we do a whole application lifecycle service. We wouldn't be anything without product provisioning, and everybody came from a tin background, so did we. And we actually sell and resell IT equipment. So if you're struggling to find new laptops in this day and age, you can actually come to us where we actually have a reworked warehouse full of second-hand devices that you can come and buy very quickly to allow remote working. IT service management, very key to what we do. We follow an ITIL-based service management program, and that drives all of our service desks and service functions. Mixing that today with classic end user support. And finally, the last of the sales pitches, and I do apologize again, unified endpoint management, which is the new name for EUC, which is the classic stuff we're seeing, where we're providing innovation and a lot more of the infrastructure we'll be talking about. Sales pitch over. I'll be glad to tell you that one. So SCC, as I said recently, have pulled together an insights report. And this insights report was to focus on around 550 people. And those 550 people across businesses inside the UK looked at various things that were going on in the market, various things that were enabling workplace productivity, but also hindering workplace productivity. The whole insights report is available on the link on the bottom of the screen. These slides will probably be shared by Jess and the team and Henrietta at the end of this section, so don't need to write that one down. I will call on that, but if you need to get a hold of it, please let me know. But some of the key areas we focused on was the IT challenges we've seen. Asked what were the greatest technology challenges to maximizing workplace productivity in their organization. As you can see, you can probably group those into 2 areas: security and GDPR compliance around the secure area. That's 37% of the respondees. Legacy tech not working with legacy tech not keeping pace, 27%. And then really the lack of agile tech or the lack of training to actually make things move further forward, 34%. The key one, though, that I wanted to bring out and we're going to drive into is this legacy tech not working or legacy tech not keeping pace, because that has been a major disabler in allowing us to take things to market. Let's look at the security side and BYOD. Everybody wants to talk about BYOD, but not really understand it. We thought that when we approached this, 67% of respondents said that they wouldn't allow remote working because of the security risks, GDPR compliance being one of them. Or 73% said, well, you can access it, but not on your own devices, only for those corporate devices that we're going to sanction. Obviously, COVID-19 came in after this, and we've probably seen a major move now where people have just had to throw something out there that's dirty to get things working. But we're going to go through those options. Trying to find the next click button. When we look at applications, I did say they're going to be key. A lot of the applications aren't even ready or optimized for remote working. A lot of them are legacy and can only be used in specific ways on a device normally connected to the network. Or 46% of those respondents said they restricted access to those applications again. So if you had a corporate laptop, that's fine. Outside of that, no, you can't gain access. So I'm just going to ask a question, possibly at this point. we'll get to that. We have a survey we're going to ask you to click up on about the tooling we're going to be using. A lot of our people we asked out there said the collaboration was key. Using tools that allowed them to share information, work on specific projects together as a team, things like SharePoint, things like Teams, the intranet itself. A lot of intranet was based on SharePoint in the early days. Shared folders, just a dumping zone, but a lot more people are seeing that SaaS-based tools. And I bet your bottom dollar that 52% of what we've actually seen now has probably been driven a lot stronger and a lot harder since we've gone to this remote working, where people are starting to use things like Microsoft 365. So let me ask you a question at this point. Let's go to the first survey question, if I can find it. I'll give you a couple of seconds to click on that button if you can, just to let me see how many people have home, and I do apologize about the spelling mistake in there, we didn't have time to alter that. If you have a solution for home working, does it incorporate bring your own device? I'll be interested to see out of the people online, how many people do have this. Pretty much of a mix so far. As you can see on the screen, hopefully. Interesting. A lot of people are saying yes, they do. So it's about 60-40 at the moment in favor of yes, where people are starting to use their own devices to gain access. That's probably because of the solutions you have in place, not because of the solutions that have been designed. A lot of them have actually said, let's take security and throw it out the window in this current climate to make things work. Fine, let's end voting there and move on. Thanks for that. Let's get back on to presentation. Oh, let me share that. Hang on, sorry. Getting used to this platform, bear with me. I should have actually shared the results. There's the results. Okay. So what options do you have at your availability now to actually make things work? What we're seeing is a lot of information being put out about options for remote working. The ones that we've focused on today are VPN solutions because they're pretty much something everybody has. Remote control solutions, mainly used in the SMB spaces, as in, a small to medium business where you're remoting onto something. Remote desktop services, where you're running something off a single server. Virtual desktop, a lot of people may not have heard about virtual desktop, but I'll go into that. And the newer tooling, things like desktop as a service or collaborative working. Let's focus on which one to use, which one we've seen, and which one we think could be working for you. So, VPN providers. It'd be an interesting question when I ask how many people have got Windows 10 and how many people are aware they've actually got a built-in VPN. There's something called always on VPN that requires you to be domain joined, as in a Active Directory join. There are technologies out there which we class as server or firewall based solutions. There's the Cisco AnyConnect services historically. There's the Fortinet FortiGate solution, which comes part of their unified threat management solution. There's the Checkpoint Remote Secure Access solution, which leans off the back of a firewall solution to give you access into the corporate network. And the Juniper Network Connect, which is a secure access hardware supplied solution. The latter four are mainly enterprise level, but we're seeing a lot more SMB markets roll out the always on VPN as part of their Microsoft 365 strategy. This is mainly, and I won't get too deep and techie, most of these are based on something you have, as in multi-factor authentication, or your password, and something that you're given, which is a key to get in, which is normally based on a client and how it's configured. Remote control solutions are slightly different. These are normally based on you leaving ports open on your network or using standard internet ports. Key market players, TeamViewer, a cloud-based solution that comes at a monthly cost, where you're running a client on a machine and you are remoting into that machine to carry on working, but you'll be working on the LAN. You can't really share information with that one. Zoho, which is more of an SMB-based solution, Zoho Connect. Log Me In. And then Remote Desktop, which a lot of people have used to do this in the past because it's free. It comes with Windows 10. It comes with server technology and allows you, as mainly used by admins, to remote into solutions to allow things to work, as in to get in, to make things happen on specific machines. Also happen to be used a lot by admins on virtual infrastructure. And the new ones we're seeing is Chrome Remote Desktop, which is Chrome to Chrome connections. So you're actually seeing a Chrome browser used as a connection into the office to connect up to a machine running a Chromebook, for instance, inside the office. Again, pretty much based on the SMB market. Remote desktop solutions, there's a nice little diagram here, enables users to manage access pretty much securely from a HTTPS, which is why the padlock's in the middle, to a server that allows you then to reach out inside the organization to do server to desktop connections, server to application connections, or server to virtual desktop infrastructure. Has to have a on-prem solution, has to be licensed, so you have to have what they call CALs, client access licenses, to actually make this work. RDS CALs no longer exist, and you have to buy what they call VDA CALs from Microsoft. But it's a very secure way of providing desktop services for remote or BCP connections. Desktop in the data center, virtual desktop infrastructure, possibly the newest form or paradigm that's happened, where, as you can see, you're running in somebody's data center on a piece of tin, on a hypervisor that allows you to create virtual instances of a desktop. And then using a connection broker, securely connect via your end device, and that end device can be anything, any, over secure connections. The only thing that moves back to you is mouse, moves back to the data is mouse and keystrokes, and then you'll get pixel updates coming the other way. Again, Microsoft with their IDS client that does this, Citrix with their Zen desktop client, and VMware with their Horizon client all have a cost. You can cost these out at a cost per user per month, or you can buy them as a CapEx investiture. Hope that makes sense. So we have new players on the market though that are cheaper. So things like Hive.io that are out there, which is an all-in-one hyper-converged infrastructure, which is a server that's pre-built for VDI that just allows you to create workloads and use them. And then also things like Nutanix with their Frames solution, again, hyper-converged, has its own hypervisor and allows you to create works and then connect to them securely via a device at the far end. Used on a one-to-one or one-to-many type scenario, you create one virtual instance of Windows 10, which is multi-user with an operating system, normally Microsoft 365 embedded or Office 365 that's already licensed, and then you're sharing that as a connection. So everybody gets the same type of desktop. Perfect for this type of scenario we're currently in. So DAS, and it's not something you do your washing in, as my wife told me earlier on. What is it, and how can it help you gain information? You can use it for a general desktop replacement, which reduces the management effort and the TCO, total cost of ownership. It can be used in these scenarios for disaster recovery. It can be used for remote office or field workers. So post what we're doing now, how do we get information out there? How do we get desktops out there that can be accessed on an hour-by-hour basis, as in you're renting this on the hour? It can be used for seasonal contract workers, where it improves the data security and load changes that you may have in your organization because everything is kept centrally. And for those true mobile workers that are out there, it gives a full desktop on any device. If you look at the Samsung offerings that we've seen, Samsung have something called DeX, Now, DEX allows you to connect to a virtual desktop or a desktop as a service. So in theory, you have your Office in your pocket. And then you have your special desktop needs for specific types of workers. Particularly, if I give you an instance there, kind of HS2 workers, where they're having to map out the whole railway line between London and Birmingham and need specific desktop access to do that. So who provides this kind of information? DAS is provided via Microsoft on their Azure platform using their Windows Virtual Desktop. And if you have any Microsoft E3 or E5 licensing, you are licensed to use that now. You have Amazon and their workspaces. If you are looking at that, that is a consumption-based model. Citrix with their Citrix Cloud. And I do apologize, but SCC do have an offering with Cloud Plus and Sentinel. The first one is a public offering. Sentinel is a secure offering where we provide desktops out to certain people. Also, when you look at DAS, you need to think about true collaborative working. And Microsoft 365 would be bereft of me not to actually mention it at this time, as we're seeing a massive upsurge now in the use of Teams to gain access to video conferencing, collaborative working using SharePoint and groups that's linked into Exchange, but also those links into Windows, Office, and the management security used in EMS. When you look at Microsoft 365, it's made up of 11 different workloads. As you can see on the screen, Exchange, Teams, SharePoint, Microsoft Office Pro Plus. You can all see what I'm seeing on the screen. Let me just go to the second poll just to see if I can make sure you're still awake. Forget to the next question. If I remember how to do that. Help. Bear with me. Jess. Sorry, Jess. Sorry if people, I'm just trying to figure out how to get to the next question. If I do it this way. Okay. Can everybody see that question yet or not? Does it not come up? No. There we go. Interesting point about applications and making them use for remote working. A lot of people are now looking at containerization as a way of getting applications available and taking an application that's not supposed to work on one environment and making it work possibly onto a mobile or a secure way on a server. Again, SCC have seen this a lot in the last few months, and it's a way of actually getting Windows 10 adopted a lot more, because a lot of people are still stuck on Windows 7, where we're trying to actually get applications up there to use. I'll stop at that. Let me share those results out to you. It just seems to be an overwhelming, yes, everybody wants to see that survey. Actually, while I'm on, Jess, can you get to the next slide, Q3, which is the one about solutions in place, and see who's using what type of solution? That's question 2. I'll stop sharing those results. Sorry, Jess, can you go to the next slide, the next survey slide? While we wait for that to come up, the next slide I'll nip on. Let me just nip onto the presentation. We'll just try and sort that out in the background. When we talk about Microsoft 365, it's mainly application driven. A lot of what you see on the left-hand side here is about collaborative working, Exchange Online, Teams, SharePoint Online, and the Office Pro Plus things that link into Windows 10. When you use a lot of those, you'll normally use Active Directory as a premium on the cloud to authenticate yourself from a security level. And then you start to leverage things like E3 licensing for Intune as a management toolset to do MDM, mobile device management and mobile application management, which is why on the right-hand side you see Outlook Mobile with Intune for MAM as possibly one of those workloads. The other areas, other than Yammer, which is a share tool, which will probably be deprecated and killed off very shortly as they roll all of that features into Teams, are around E5 licensing areas. So advanced threat protection, cloud application security, and making sure what you can see is available to users in the real world, and making sure what you see is secure. If you don't know how to get there, there are ways that we can help you. SCC, as a fast track partner, one of only 22 in the UK, can offer free remote guidance to you if you have any licensing that is eligible. Now, what do I mean by any licensing that is eligible? Oh, back again. How did that turn up? Sorry, Jess. Having issues this end, she said. Apologies. Don't worry about the surveys, Jess. We'll just kick in. I'll ask the questions a bit later. So we see by Microsoft offer this service for anybody that's got 150 seats or more, or anybody that's got licensing has free access to online areas where they can gain information. But if you have 150 seats or more, Microsoft offer a free of charge remote guidance service that's operated by SCC and allows us to look at those workloads and make sure that you're actually getting the best out of those and delivering them to a certain level to get you off the ground. It's very reference guide initiated, and only SCC and a few handful of people in the UK can deliver that. So if you're looking to roll out Microsoft 365, let us know. It is one of the surveys, but I think we're struggling on the surveys. There's a question I wanted to ask at the back end of what we're seeing today. How many people out there think that IT will change at the back end of COVID-19? I personally think we're going to see more consumption-based IT being used. I think that element of trust inside businesses has now been proven. We're seeing the productivity levels don't dip for remote working. In fact, it probably drives better remote working because you're working longer hours, you're not traveling as far, and you're getting a lot more done. We're going to see a lot more focus back on the finance inside IT. For those people that have probably been around a long time, like I have, the IT manager used to be the finance director, and he used to pay for consumption-based services, which is OPEX-based, operational based. We're going to see that again, where people aren't actually monitoring IT performance, they're monitoring end-user experience and consuming services. So I think that might change. But the solutions we deploy now will become the norm for users. So what we need to understand is, as users move forward, we're seeing a lot more Gen X, Gen Z users, people less than 25 years old. I think 40% of IT users sit in that category. That is only going to grow. They are used to consumption-based IT. We're going to see a lot more people take what they're delivering now and move further forward. Jess, if you can get any of the questions up, there's a survey at the end. I think it was question 5. We're still on number 2. Can we get to the next one? Is it stuck? I think it's stuck. I don't think I can do anything from my end. No, I think there's a problem with the system. One of the questions I was going to ask, though, do you believe that IT will change? Be interesting to find out what your answers are. If you just put them into the chat area as a yes or a no, that's going to help us deliver the back end. So coming close to the end of the presentation, engaging with SCC. I'm Murad. My details are the bottom corner. I speak to customers, I speak to people on a daily basis about what's going on. I think if you want to grab hold of me, there's my mobile number. No booty calls, please, post 9:30. But just drop me an email if you've got any specific questions at andy.nabbs@scc.com. If you go to our website, we have a section on enabling productivity through collaboration and innovation as part of what we're doing with COVID-19 at www.scc.com again. If you're engaging in any form of Microsoft activity and like some help, don't know what you're doing, again, reach out to us. We have the fast track program we can probably assist you with. If you're one of our existing customers, our sales team can point you in the right direction and help you with licensing, hardware, or solutions around that. And for those people that follow things like LinkedIn or Twitter, we do have our social feeds where we're putting information out there on a daily basis. So engage in myself, keep track of our social campaigns, leverage the experts, or look online to see what's going on. I am complete there. We were hoping to get a bit longer. We did have a few surveys. Unfortunately, we've had technical issues and technical gremlins. So I'd like to open the board out now for any questions that you may have.
Fantastic. So your moment has come, everyone. If you've got any questions, pop them in the chat box. And while you do that, I've got a couple of questions for you here, Andy. First up, when you're speaking to customers, what are the most common queries or challenges they tend to find when they're setting up remote working? What are the sort of challenges and issues they come to you with?
I think the main questions we've been getting asked to is how do I gain access to some of those legacy applications that I can't normally gain access to if I'm remote working, not normally available on your laptop or your mobile phone. And how do I enable those sessions and how do I get access to those securely that will allow my users to be productive at home? We at SCC went through the same process fortuitously just before COVID broke out, and we did a major test where we put in a range of solutions and actually sent a load of people home to test the VPN, to test the remote desktop solutions, primarily for scaling. Because when you think about the size of SCC and the fact we have got over 1,000 people on the ground in Birmingham, and we had to send 80% of those people home to try things, it was how we could scale those things out but securely make them work. So it's primarily those are the questions I'm being asked. How do I get things out there securely?
Brilliant. Was there anything that surprised you when you did that organisation-wide test? Was there anything that came out of that was a surprise?
Yes, the lack of issues we had. It did come to us as a bit of a shock. We thought we were going to have scalability issues. We thought there would be bandwidth constraints. We thought that users wouldn't get the same functionality working remotely. And actually, it was very minimal, the impact we saw from doing those kind of tests. So I would always urge post-COVID that when we're talking about IT in the future, when we talk about business continuity plans, that whatever you put out there, you do test. So if we have another one of these, and God help us, we don't, that you're ready for it and your systems can actually work in those ways.
Brilliant. So test. So we've covered what people commonly ask you. Is there anything that you think more people should be asking, things that you're surprised businesses aren't looking at or taking more seriously?
I think when you link remote working, I think a lot of it comes down to security. A lot of people are still in the dark about GDPR. And how do I gain access to information that shouldn't really leave the boundaries of my workplace? And the best ways to do that. And going back to what I said about remote desktop services and what's going on with those, a lot of people are using that to centralize their data. A lot of people are using that now so it doesn't leave the confines of the data center, and then using a remote desktop solution. They're using RDS, they're using Citrix, they're using DAS-based solutions to gain access to information on the move, which means that what I'm seeing is that security issue and that GDPR thing goes away. So we're seeing a lot more asks around security. Shakir, yes, that's a good question. And is there a minimum number of users for SCC? No, we'll talk to anybody. If I give you that Secure Trust Bank, would I believe I told you less than 100 users work in Secure Trust Bank, but they turn over the best part of 15 to 25 million. We engage with everybody. We're here to offer help and assistance, particularly in this time of need around the Midlands. We like to give a lot more back to the community than we take out. That's Peter's mentality. So, Shakir, if you want to reach out to me, you've got my email address. I'll see if I can help you. If I can't, and I know a lot of people that can, particularly probably in the Birmingham Chamber of Commerce area, where we've got a lot more IT companies that probably align to the smaller SMB businesses.
Fantastic. Right, well, everyone, last chance to ask a question. We've got just a couple of minutes left, or I've got a final one from Andy here. So
Far away.
I will ask my final question. So if you're going to leave our viewers here today with just one piece of advice, what would it be?
I think I've said it again. Whatever you're doing now, make sure that it's scalable, it's secure, and it is tested. Because what you're doing now will become the IT norm post COVID-19. So don't make snap decisions. Make sure you look at all the options. Make sure you look at the prerequisites from your business to make sure you're putting in the right solution that's cost effective and provides the right level of service for your business now.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Andy. That's been incredibly informative. We will be posting a recording of today's webinar online as well. So if anyone would like to look back over, pick back up any of the advice, get your contact details, that will be available shortly. Thank you very much for joining us again and for sharing your expertise. And thank you to everyone who's joined us on today's webinar. We look forward to seeing you at future Chamber webinars.
Thank you very much, everybody.